Hello, my name is Jerry Hall. I was a candidate for U.S. Congress several times in District 4, Texas, of which in 1996 I was the Republican nominee running on the ballot in a 78% Republican district as a Republican. In that campaign, Phil Gramm campaigned vigorously against me with a Democratic opponent throughout the state, letting you know that the Republicans are not always for Republicans. Later, he decided to leave office through the help of me sending letters to every Republican women's group in the state of Texas, announcing that he was supporting a Democrat in a primary election as a Republican senator. These are the type of things that go on. After that election in 1996, there was massive voter fraud throughout the district, and it was reported in the newspapers, and nothing was done about it. The Attorney General, Tony Garza, was notified. He said the candidates had to file suit to make anything happen, that they would not pursue any violations of criminal aspects of voter fraud. Texas, on October 6th of this year, 2016, uncovered the largest voter fraud in the same district that I ran again in 2016, in the primary. The Republican nominee was John Ratcliffe, who took a huge amount of the votes, having only been in the office 1 year, 2 years. Now, the irony of this is that the massive amount of fraud was in his district. Largest uncovered voter fraud in the history of Texas. Mounted in Tarrant County and Hill County, and they're still uncovering other counties. But it all ties back to John Ratcliffe, who happens to have ties with the insiders. If you're an insider, you can pretty well be assured that you're going to get elected. If you're an outsider like I was, an independent businessman, paying for my own campaign and not asking for any favors like Donald Trump was doing on his campaign, making sure that there were nobody controlling me or dictating to me what could be done. In 1996, in a 78% Republican district, 2 congressmen came to me and flat told me that I would vote the way they told me to vote. I will speak when spoken to, and I would only say what they told me to say, or I was pretty well guaranteed that I wouldn't get elected. I asked them, I said, why is this? I said, you know, I thought I was here to represent the constituents of District 4. They said, you are not. The fraternity starts in Washington, D.C. with 435 congressmen that don't care what party they're from. It's all about them making money and controlling whatever they want to get rich. Every congressman who's gone in poor has come out exceedingly wealthy. And on top of the benefits and the perks they get all the time. This type of political agenda needs to stop. Donald Trump is a prime example of where we need business people in office, not these bureaucrats who have never created a job but have been vultures on our system forever. Attorneys run and control the legislature. They make the laws to benefit themselves and their buddies. So if you think it's a consideration that most legislators are lawyers, that's the fox watching the hen house. We need to get local legislators back in. Donald Trump's philosophy of 2-year term limits or 2-term limits for each congressman is great. And it should be 1 term for senators. 6 years is plenty enough. If they can't get something done in 6 years, they need to get out. We need to go back to local business people who are candidates who want to run for a purpose of helping the community, not helping themselves. We ought to prevent them from taking lobbyist money. We ought to stop them from doing anything that goes along against for themselves. They should abide by all laws that each individual has to abide by. They shouldn't get special privilege for health care or their retirement program. This is absurd how they're treated. And they've legislated it in for themselves. It's time we put normal congressmen, normal people in the congressional seats and senatorial seats. Stop the lobbying term system completely. Close it down. Put it back to the locals and also make it affordable for anybody to run. $500,000 to run for a congressional seat is ridiculous. It used to be $5,000. Now it's $500,000. And a senatorial seat could be in the millions. It's absurd that local businessmen cannot run for these congressional seats and actually help with the legislation. What Donald Trump proposes about reducing taxes will increase the revenues in the United States. People will start spending more. That'll create more sales tax. That's what the Democrats don't understand. They understand, well, I'll just take from the rich and that'll be the end of it. But eventually the rich finally leave, as they're doing now. They're taking their businesses to other countries where it's cheaper for them to produce. And then there's no taxes coming back in the United States. So why not? That benefit benefits those people leaving the country and helping other countries. That's the problem here. If we reduce taxes to the lowest amount of tax in the world, we would attract businesses to us, not shipping them overseas. We need to build the legislation in place that would stop this illegal immigration. Welfare should be reduced as opposed to reducing Medicare. Medicare is something we paid for. All of our lives, working Americans have paid for it. And Social Security, we paid for. Now they're saying we're going to take money from the Social Security and the Medicare and support welfare systems. Here we are supporting people that don't want to work or can't work. I don't mind helping someone with a hand up, but not a handout forever. It's time we stop this ridiculous welfare system. It's a big fraud anyway. Majority of it is fraud. People I see in stores shopping there who are illegal immigrants, shopping with welfare programs from the United States. And yet our senior citizens who have paid their fair share in are getting taken advantage of. They're not getting the welfare, they're getting Social Security that is so limiting to them they can't even afford to live off of it. Had they invested that money on their own before, they could have easily survived. But not now. American legislators have no clue what they're doing, except to benefit themselves. I can tell you that what needs to change are everything from the top down. People who have played into the systems should be entitled to their Social Security, not at a reduced rate. This $5 increase that they're going to submit for this next year, 2017, is absurd. It's ridiculous. Yet, do they stop their cost of living increases, which is about $10,000 or $20,000 to the congressmen and senators? Not at all. They continue to benefit from it while pummeling the small individuals who are trying to survive. It's about time we take back our Congress and our Senate, but do it in the proper parties. Our party has been infiltrated by a bunch of rhinos, like John McCain is a prime example of that. He is nothing more than a Democrat in sheep's clothing. We see this all the time with these legislators coming in and pretending they're Republicans. We need that Republican test, a Republican test that can identify who the real Republicans are. Prime example, we can start right now with who's supporting Donald Trump and who's not. The people that are not supporting Donald Trump are the rhinos. Those are the ones that are not Republicans. A true Republican would jump in there and support him all out. Paul Ryan is another prime example of someone that needs to get kicked out of office. This guy, we should take an all-out battle about getting him out. He was a poor choice for Speaker of the House. And yet he continues to belittle and degrade our Republican nominee who the people have chosen, not him. That's what he was trying to control because he wants to be the next president. And he was trying to force out Donald Trump by placing him in this category that he thought he was a crazy or a lunatic. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump is the most sane person that'll ever work in Washington. Hillary Clinton, you take a look at her. Nothing but a crook, a criminal, and continues to lie about everything. What can we expect from her? Look what she's done to the black and the Hispanic community. Nothing. And yet they come begging to her every 4 years, and she gets on her hands and knees and says, I'm going to give you everything you want. And guess what happens? Nothing. The black and Hispanic community are so impoverished, it's incredible. Yet here we go again, voting for Hillary Clinton because she's a Democrat, promising to give you free stuff, which is not free. Who's going to pay for this? It's you and I, the taxpayer, who are responsible for paying all these debts. It's about time we take a look at real sensible legislators, candidates who can get out there and run, but don't have to spend their life savings to do that. We need to raise money for individual candidates on a $25 and low basis so that they have an opportunity to run for Congress and the Senate. We need to start now a movement to enforce our laws by getting these legislators out who are dipping into their back pockets to steal from us every day. They take money out of our pockets to fund their little benefits and their perks for their best friends and their partners and their constituents who are supporting them by monetary benefits. We, as Americans, need to take America back. We need your support, and we need to start this movement now, not wait. But now is a good time with the presidential election in 2016. The next phase should be Congress and Senate to weed out these people who are nothing but corrupt, criminals, crooks, and self-doers. It's time for America to move forward into a positive mode and save America. This is our goal. Save America. Otherwise, we are doomed. We look at the terrorism that's coming into our states. We take a look at the immigration problem coming across our border. Well, you take in consideration, when I was in another country, I saw a lawyer with stacks of passports that he was converting to that country's passport, all from the Middle East. Thousands of them. He was being paid $100,000 apiece to convert their passport from a Middle Eastern passport to a Latin American country passport, so they could get entry into the United States illegally and secretly. That needs to stop too. We need to stop and monitor the immigration and take a look at it from a first hand. Education, another problem. What are we going to do about it? This Common Core is ridiculous. Our kids right now have to practice and study so long that they're not learning anything. And the ridiculous Common Core we put in place is absolutely absurd. I can go on down the list, and this will be in segments. This is the first segment, and the next one will come soon. Thank you, and save America.